Welcome to the Get Real Sisters podcast. We're sisters, each other's biggest supporter and confidant. We keep it real with each other, just like we're going to keep it real with you, with discussions about life, the good, the bad, and in between. We're here to grow and get real. So don't forget to subscribe and share. Let's go.
What up? What up?
Hey.
It's your girl, Jazz.
It's Shanice. I'm over here trying to play around with this ring light thing.
Come on, light. They look good.
Thanks. I might have to use this for like work, but we'll see. Anyway.
Okay, not the distractions early. We here.
How you doing?
It's your sister gang squad. The best podcast out there, the Get Real Sisters podcast. Welcome in. This is episode 6. Killing it. Woo woo. We're in October. Things are pumpkin spice latteing it up. And we got a good topic for you. Ooh, baby.
Yes. We also want to mention that there's going to be some slight changes to how we do things. Clearly, we're a week behind, but it's not going to really matter because instead of doing our separate week for What's the Word, and posting like a really short video, we're going to just include What's the Word in our recorded episodes at the end. So make sure you watch all the way to the end so that you can take advantage of that activity that we're going to throw at you, and also obviously do ourselves, even though we failed last episode, but it's fine. We got it this time.
Yes. Well, let's get right into it because this is one topic that I know I've pushed your buttons. I know that others, and so do you want to do the honors? This cat, okay, real quick of the distraction, I'm about to beat him. Get out of here, go somewhere. His dry food, granted, is usually in the balcony closet. It just got delivered yesterday, so we haven't moved it. So it's sitting on the floor next to me. I keep hearing a little crinkling.
This He's trying to bust
it.
Oh man. He's a fat cat. That's why I call him Garfield.
Girl, it is open.
Meow. You better pick it up. Before it's all over the floor.
I'm on the clock.
All right. Well, you might have to clean up a mess later.
Right.
But yeah, okay. So yeah, I will definitely introduce the topic. We're really talking about giving space. So giving space can be giving yourself space to be able to heal yourself. For really anything that could be going on in your life, things that you haven't dealt with. I know we've had our episode talking about feel the feel. So like really getting into that space of being able to feel it and work through it. And sometimes you have to do that on your own. You can't always rely on other people. And then I also want to talk about giving space to others so they can heal themselves, especially if you're involved in whatever, put you guys in bad terms. Sometimes you have to eat that and let them do you, boo. And then hopefully they get to a place where they're ready to like rekindle what you guys had, because that can also be tough. And maybe the risk is that it just can't be. It can't be either what it was or that friendship or that relationship fizzles out. So that's where our heads are for this episode. And I think it would be best for us to do like ourselves first. So
wait, before you, because I got questions. I already got questions. So okay, and you haven't even told me nothing. But to tie in the feels, right? Because I think that's super important. What would you say, leading up to having to provide or give yourself space? What feelings, what emotions are you typically going? And it might not be the same every single time, but what emotions do you feel like or headspace you're in when you're like, I need space?
Usually it's when I'm feeling like really sad, overwhelmed, like anxiety. What else? Or angry.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the first emotion that I thought of was anger.
Yeah, I feel like that would probably, like, if if I was to like number them order wise, it would probably be anger first.
Yeah,
Because I
no
feel
doubt.
like anger for a lot of people, I mean, speak for myself, my anger is when I get to the point of being angry, it is like red anger, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where I can start being petty. That's where I
Yep,
just not thinking in the best way.
I agree.
Yeah.
Definitely. Um, okay, cool. Yeah, I think we're definitely aligned. Like you said, I those were the first three that immediately came to my mind as well as far as emotions. And but I want us to pause on that for a second is because naturally I think when we hear space, I think we assume I need space because chaos is happening, negativity is happening. And that's not necessarily always it. Sometimes you need space to soak in and be present to the greatness that is happening instead of just boom, 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 moving, moving, moving.
That is true. That's like a good like other spin to it too. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be negative emotions and tied to it. I think probably majority of the time that's what people are like thinking about. But
Right.
I really love that too because we in this day and age where everything is so busy and everybody, even though I love it that everybody seems like they're very goal or getting more and more goal oriented and
Hmm.
working on getting better and better because we're always trying to work to the next level. Sometimes we don't give that time to be like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm grateful for what I have right now. I'm grateful for how far I've come already and sitting with that. So that's a really excellent point too. I think
Yeah.
that's very cool.
Because I was just thinking, right, when, or at least more often than not, when I'm like, I need space, it's that aggravated. I need space, right? Instead of like, I'm gonna take some space, go wine and
Right.
dine, enjoy, you know? So
Yeah.
like marinate in it for a second. So, but I'd love to hear I know you probably have a good list here, but what is one or maybe two examples of where you personally was like, Shanice, I need some space. I need to go.
Yeah. I mean usually my times are when I'm angry or upset or whatever. So mine usually have to do with like tidy, like I can't even think of getting exact like this conversation that we had, da 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 da. But in the beginning of our relationship, I was definitely like, no, like I want to talk about it right now. Um, whether you're ready or not, like so this kind of like ties into both sides of it. Like I'm gonna talk about it right now. I need to get it off my chest. But I recognized that I needed to, whether he was ready for a conversation or not, um, I needed to give myself the space to calm down, to like, because when I'm mad, I'm close. I do my best to never like actually get to this point where I'm saying things I don't actually mean and I'm just trying to
Hmm.
like hurt their feelings. And I'm sorry guys, I'm super stuffy and I sound it and I can like hear my own self in my ears. Anyway, um I definitely, even though I get really angry, I try not to say something I don't mean.
Mm.
But what I do is sometimes I'll do petty stuff. And sometimes it's stuff he probably wouldn't even recognize, but I'm doing it because in my backwards
Like,
thinking,
I got that.
I'm like, it's making me feel better for the moment or whatever, like doing petty stuff,
Right.
like changing his name in my phone, like stupid stuff like that, like taking my ring off, like like
Oh,
doing weird stuff that he would never even notice. Because by the time I'm calmed down, I'm like, all right, let me stop playing and like cut it back. Um, but I'm like, I cannot get to that or get to the point where I may say something that hurts his feelings, especially if I don't mean it. Like
yeah,
we're gonna hurt people's feelings. That's like almost inevitable because we all think differently, but it should never be intentional.
no doubt.
So I would say those are like my primary times where I'm like, all right, I'm mad. Let me give myself the space. Let me go listen to some music. Let me go take a hot shower. Let me go for a walk.
Hmm.
I don't really like to walk that much, but if I'm bad enough, I need to get out the house.
That's when you're livid. If you
Yeah,
station these
that's
on
when
a
I'm like,
walk,
okay, I need to be away, away.
Shanice is
Um,
walking, you know she's seeing red.
I'm not about that exercise life. But yeah, so I would say that for me. What about you?
Yeah, I was trying to think. So I tons of examples, but also working on it. Many things. Now I'd say there's been amazing strides, so I'm gonna toot real quick. Um, I'll first start with the anger side, or frustration. Um, Whenever or in situations where I don't feel heard, I'm gonna explain it as I don't feel heard. Um, and whoever I'm talking to is also not open and willing to kind of like let me talk through it. Um, that's like the beginning of the situation. So why I'm saying that is that old jazz, those that may know, may not know, um, I get a little handsy. Um, and I promise I'm doing so good. But it is a toxic trait of mine that I thought years ago I got through it, and then like a year ago, I was like, oh shoot, I still need to work on that. So again, is where I'm not feeling heard. Um, Conversation isn't going, so I'm seeing red. Old jazz would immediately transition and get handsy. So instead, I filled that with, instead of getting handsy, I'm going to take my space and go on a walk. I am a walker. Um, but I was going on, this is also a work in progress, which I'm doing amazing, by the way. I would go on walks. It didn't matter what time of day it was. So it could be 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, but I needed the space because I was so angry. I wanted to just be in nature, ground myself, level myself. But also on the contrary of that, it's not super safe, right? Although like in the moment, I'm like, I don't care. Like, who's gonna mess with me? Well, if you listen to the news at all, there are some crazies out there. But so I'm not doing that as much anymore. So current give myself space is um I do like I'll go on the balcony, right? If I feel like I'm trapped in the house, like, which I got a part-time job to help that too, but neither here nor there. Sometimes I just feel like the walls are caving in,
Right, you
that
need air.
yes, like literally air. And so going on the balcony, no electronics. I shouldn't say that. I'll cast my phone to the TV, and I've been really into um jazz instrumentals. Like that is my vibe. I listen to it during work. I'll do it after work when I'm cleaning. So I'll do that. I've been doing that. Put the cast on the TV, and then keep my balcony door open and just be listening. Whether it's if it's in the day, I'm listening to the birds chirping. At night, it could be whatever animals are out there. I don't know, scary. So it's just a wind. It just feels really good. And I'm giving myself space because sometimes I need to digest or not digest. That's is the word digest I'm looking for. Um,
Maybe.
Debrief basically from my day. Maybe it was so stressful at work and I'm feeling a little bit of an anxiety and stress, and I want to cut it, right? So
I can
I give,
totally relate to that example because like there's certain days where even if you didn't get into like some type of heated argument at work, but it's just like long and
yep.
having to deal with like XYZ, like just a bunch of things back to back. That's me a lot actually. Like after work for the first like 30 minutes to an hour, like I would prefer like I need to be alone. Like I've
Mm-hmm.
been talking to people on Teams or Zoom all day. I've been
Yep.
answering questions all day. I don't want to hear nothing from no one. Like I love my family, I love like my kids and all that stuff. I know they're excited to see me, so sometimes I got to check myself if I am having to like directly communicate with them and stuff.
Yeah.
But there's some times where I'm like legit, at least Layla, because Kingston doesn't understand it. He's like, I don't care. I'm gonna say whatever and climb on you and jump on you, whatever. But to Layla, at least sometimes I've been a lot better too, because I used to just snap and it wasn't their fault, but I would just like be so rude for literally no reason to them. Like they're just asking me a random question or like, what's for
Mhm.
dinner? I'm like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I'm a lot better with it now that like right after work, if I can tell that it literally almost feels like in my brain, like
Yeah.
this like fog. I don't know, and I can just feel my body not feeling right. I'll be like, okay, Layla, like I get it, and I'm sorry. And sometimes even if I do get to the point like I might have snapped first, I'll apologize like right away. Like, sorry, like I didn't mean to come off like that. It's been a long day, so if you could just not ask me questions for a little bit,
Yeah.
and then we can get to that because
No doubt.
I just need sometimes to not be hearing anything. And that sometimes means I don't even want music. I don't want anything. I just want silence
Mm-hmm.
for a bit of time.
Yeah. It's you even just speaking on it to kind of break it up is that I believe there is negative space that you can take and then healthy space that you can take. Now, when I was referring to, I would go on when I'm angry, I'm going to go on those walks. Yes, I'm taking space for myself to clear. And by the end of it, I feel good, better. But that is negative space. That is an unhealthy way of taking space, um, I think.
Well,
Uh,
to a point, like if you're not caring about your safety, yes.
that's why I'm calling it
Uh, okay.
unhealthy. The healthy of what you're saying, perfect of like unwinding from work, especially our remote workers. Um, I can truthfully, obviously, I'm remote as well, 100%. Um, Something that I now realize I took for granted was me, having that hour commute one way.
Oh,
After work, I
seriously.
was able to just, whether I wanted to listen to music or just drive, right? It
Yeah.
gave me that hour in between to be by myself, to think whatever thoughts were coming in my head or not coming in my head. But by the time I got home, if I happened to have company or people were home, I was now ready to engage in a conversation. But like you said, currently, I believe it is healthy space, but like, we talk to people all day.
Yeah.
At the end, it's doesn't skip a beat. I talk to people all day while I'm working. Group messages are zinging galore. I'm
Yeah.
on like 17 million group messages. And so it's like, yeah, I want to get caught up, but then it's like at the end of the day, I really don't. So you might catch
Yeah.
me in there, you might not. But then
Right.
then after
Sorry,
work,
not sorry.
right. Guys, if any of you watching it, it's not your fault, but it is. So
Right. We don't mean
maybe
anything by it.
I'll hit you back eventually. But then, maybe someone's calling, family back home, friends, like just checking in, like being sweet, but I need my space. And
I
it's
was just
again
talking to
nothing.
dad the other day about that, like, cause it got brought up that, like that day that he forgot to text you back for like a couple days or something. I
Hmm.
was like, honestly, I've been doing that a lot lately. Like, you might look at your message while you're actually still busy, forget about it,
Yes.
or you're not actually busy, but you might be in one of those headspaces where you're like, I
Yeah.
just don't want to talk right now. And you like
Yeah.
kind of feel guilty, especially it's those people that you don't necessarily talk to every single day, or
Right.
they're meaning well by checking in on you, but you're not. The thing about giving space for yourself is if you're not in the right headspace, you can't give that person the type of attention,
Right.
love that they deserve, really.
Yep.
So it's kind of almost it's helping you, but it's also helping that person. Like, I don't want
Agree.
to necessarily be like, all right, I'll just answer this, or I'll answer this phone call, or I'll answer these questions when I know about to come off steak or uninterested, bored, tired. Like, you
Yeah.
got to be okay with those times to be like, all right, like I'm doing this technically for the both of us.
Right.
You don't want to see me or hear
You
me
don't
right.
want this right now.
I'm more than you. That's the nicest way I can tell you is I need some
Right.
space.
Right. One thing I'd
Otherwise, I
say
will
is
bite your head off.
you're foolish. Bite it off. Um, is that I believe every single person, I don't care if you're a mom of 10, a dad of 17, like a single, whatever, right? Um, I think we all need to make it a habit to take space, our own individual space consistently, right? Because as soon as you display and you have a consistent space, the people around you, right? Especially your family, the day to day, the ones that live with you, or maybe the people you talk to on a regular basis, they'll know. And why, what remind me of that is when I had the kids, right? They came to work with me, all that good stuff. We would drive home, but they knew when we got home, the first 30 minutes, well, one, I was either pouring myself a glass of wine or Callie was pouring me a glass of wine. And they knew the 30 minutes was our time to individually do what we wanted to do. And then come back into it of like, all right, well, Auntie, can I? And granted, not every day was great, but it became a routine for all of us where it was like, you go do you, whether that means crapping and I'm watching YouTube, you know what works for you, go and do it. And I think builds it builds you, right? It makes you a lot stronger, able, like you said, like having the capacity to engage in other conversations or do other things. Um, but I believe it builds your relationship with others a lot stronger too, because they're looking at you like, wow, like if this is so important to her, maybe I need to implement, right? You can
Right,
inspire,
like
encourage someone else
influence
to do it.
for sure,
Right.
especially the younger generation.
No doubt.
Like it's okay for you to also not be having the greatest day or having see it's on a timer clearly.
Got real yellow over there.
They mess me up. Um like even younger, like if you're having a long day, you're having a bad day, or you're having a super great day and you just want to revel in that by yourself for a second,
Right.
that is okay, no matter who you are. So
Mm-hmm. Yep.
definitely for
And not kind of related. It is related. I remember you just saying like, you having a good day, boop, boop, boop. The other day, I was glowing as I am now. Thank you. But I was having a great day. I really was. And Anthony ends up pulling up and not pulling up, but you know what I'm talking about. And he was in a funk. And I literally was like, mm-mm.
right. You okay?
Man, what were you doing? This cat.
Yeah,
You heard upstairs, it was like boop, 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 boop.
I
And then
didn't
he
hear
comes
anything.
booking down. Oh, you didn't hear it? Okay, well, hopefully nothing broke upstairs. Who cares? But again, he was in a funk, and I was like, oh no, I'm gonna. And maybe this will tie into giving someone else space, but I didn't even put it on him. Of you need space, I said I'm gonna take some space. Um, and what I do, go on the balcony and vibe, right? It was just like, I'm not, nothing is going to kill my vibe right now. And
Yeah,
if I sat in it, it could have. I don't know for certain, right? Because I wasn't even, I took it of, and I think we need to do it for both positive and negative things that are happening in our life, right? Um, if you don't feel like you have the capacity to listen, to hear, to engage, don't. And in that moment, I was on my high horse and I did not have the capacity for it to be jammed up. And again, it wasn't a guarantee that it was going to be jammed up, but I didn't even want to take that risk.
right, right. And like I feel like some people could consider that something selfish, but I don't think it's wrong. Like as long as it's not like excessive where you're just like, oh, I'm never gonna hear this person as soon as they're in a funk, absolutely not. Like you
Right,
go figure it
right.
out and then come to me. Like that
Agreed.
always can't be the case because you should also, especially if you're in a relationship, be that person that they can come to
Mm-hmm.
and vent it out because that might be helping them get through it. But uh I think it's totally okay to be within that period of time too. I low key feel guilty sometimes with that because like if someone I could tell is like going through something, but I've
Mm.
been feeling so good, I'm like, dang, like I don't even want to share my good things that are going on because I don't want to make you feel worse about whatever you have going on. So
You
there's
know what
that too.
immediately popped in my head?
I think. I mean, we
No, you
twins,
do. You do.
yeah. So sometimes it's like that, but it's always the give and take with all these situations. Like there could be the good
Exactly.
side, the bad side, the in
No doubt.
between side. Like it's just everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I
Yeah.
love the fact that you were saying about or like tying it into giving that other person space, because that's another really important part of that. Whether you're
Yeah.
feeling good or not even good, like you both could actually be feeling quite terrible. Maybe you had a heated argument, you had a falling out, but you might be quicker to come to a place of either forgiveness, or
Mm.
if you were actually the perpetrator, you are the reason why that person actually is in that funk.
Mhm.
You really have to allow them to take the space so they can deal with it however they want. If they are not ready to talk about it, deal with it, you have to be okay with yourself, even if it hurts. I'm about to give you guys like a real exact example that Jasmine doesn't even know about because I do want to get her a real time perspective on it.
Oh no, I'm about to get my camera ready in case I gotta turn it off. No, just kidding.
But yeah, so you have to be okay with the fact that that person might not be ready and allow them to do what they need to do to hopefully get to a point where you guys can rekindle things, get back to the same page, with also the expectation that you might not be, even if it's rekindled, you might not be able to get to that same exact spot as you guys were before.
No doubt.
So do you want to put any input on that before I say my example?
Oh no, I think it's very true. And like you said, the part of I think in some situations when, and again, I'm going to go to the negative side really quick, of when I felt like, or I knew I needed to give the other person space, but I didn't want to because I felt like, no, like if I give them space, like not that I wasn't confident that they'll be okay, but it was just like, I felt like I was letting them down. I'm also not someone that quits. So I took that, at previously I would take giving someone else space of me giving up on them.
Uh,
And and I think moments sometimes I do still feel that, but majority of the time I don't. I know the purpose of giving space. Um, and again, in these quote unquote negative situations, it might hurt you, but in the long run, there's going to be so many blessings that come out of that. And
agree.
like you said, if it's not rekindled, you grew, that person grew, which is beautiful. I mean,
Yeah.
that to me, that's a
And
win.
as it's intended, however it plays out, I
Exactly.
believe that's how it's intended.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm gonna give you my example
Let's
because
hear the tea.
we like sort of talked about it, but not really. Um, so y'all know how close me and Jasmine are. And luckily for us, we did get back to a place where we were able to, you know, basically it almost never happened. I'll say almost never happened because it did, and we got through it and we are just as strong. So that doesn't always work out for people, so we're blessed in that. So this example is how old now? Almost 14 years old.
14 years.
To go back. We about to go 14 years ago. If you think about 14 years ago.
Okay, okay, I'm here.
Okay, so there was a time where
Mm,
I was the perpetrator. I had to allow Jasmine to get her own space. So 14 years ago, almost 14 years ago, I got pregnant with Layla. A little bit before that, well, basically with the news of me being pregnant, it also came out to where I wasn't a virgin anymore. So I was very quiet about that situation, up until obviously I needed to inform my family of what was going on. Um, I happened to lie to Jasmine about who was the person that took my virginity. It wasn't the person that is Layla's father, and that's a whole other story. But and no names or anything like that. But um I lied about it because I was afraid of what her reaction was going to be because we both knew the person. Um it ended up coming out not from me. So that add to the fact that I lied about it, she found out by somebody else, not me. And considering how close we've always been, this really, really hurt her. And I could tell that. And to the point where she stopped talking to me. For I don't remember exactly how long it was, but I think it was at least a few months.
no.
I'm dead serious. It was at least maybe two. I'm dead serious about it.
I would have given you a few weeks, a month.
It if it wasn't that long, it felt that long. Like I was tore up, like heartbroken. Like I don't know if you guys
Mhm.
ever have felt like which I actually heard this could turn into a condition anyway, where your heart literally hurts because of how painful whatever you're going through is. So
Yeah.
that happened. Um, I was like crying to my mom. I'm like, she won't answer me. I was not trying to give her that space because I was afraid that I was losing her. But my mom was like, you have to let her deal with it and she'll come around. Like she just kept saying, you know, pray on it and she'll come around. I was tore up because we tell you guys all the time, like best friends, like day one, I don't remember life before her in here. We go to each other for everything. But when that happened, I was like, oh shoot. Like, what am I about to do if she doesn't come back? Like, so that's why maybe it wasn't that long, but it felt so long. Um, so that's my example of the time that I need to give you space and thank you, Jason. You came back to me. But what do you remember that? And
Oh yeah.
how are you feeling?
Right now?
No, how were you feeling
Oh,
during that
I
time? And
was
like how did you kind of get through it?
very similar emotions that you were having. I was too. Those that know, like Shanice and I aren't twins, but we have a lot of weirdly same feelings at the same exact time, thoughts, all that stuff. So I was distraught. I think at that time in my life too, I was really struggling with healthy relationships, genuine relationships in my life. So it came at, I would say, one of the worst times possible to hear it because
Perspective, I was like 18, she's 16 at this time. So
17, because I was in college when I found
oh,
out.
oh right. Oh right. Because you found out after Layla was even okay.
Yeah.
I forgot about that part.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
So yeah, like I said, like I was really struggling with that aspect. And like you said, like you are my best friend. So to think I'm like, I've never hid anything from you. And so for it, and me, I'm just replaying. I'm like, I remember the night and I asked specifically, and I'm someone that like, I'm not going to lie. Like in that, and so I was beside myself that I'm like, she knows how big and deep it is when someone lies. And for her to do it, I'm like, how dare she, or and I didn't truthfully, like when everything came out, I was set on it. I was like, I'm good, right? I was like, I am good. I said, there's no one in my life that hasn't lied to me. Like there might have been like one person at that point, but and I was like, I just can't trust people anymore. Like the closest people to me, like clearly don't, take me basically for granted and blah blah blah. So how did I get through it? Was there were a lot of people in my ear. I have to be honest with that. Mom definitely reached out a few times. There was a couple other key players. Um, and not saying it wasn't just them. It was, they were constant. And I hear that kind of stuff all the time. Whatever. I'm good. Trust me. But as more things, like I said, I promise it was only a few weeks. Because because although a few weeks, it did feel like eternity. And it got to a point too where things were happening in my life where I'm like, damn, like the person I share everything with, I don't have that anymore. And for what? Like, I knew how sorry you were. Like, I got novels after novels. Um, and I know you as a person. So I knew it wasn't malicious. Although originally I felt like it was. Um, so you giving me space forced me to take my own space of really working through my emotions, seeing it from I think really understanding devil's advocate, seeing it from your light and understanding that you were wrong. But I probably played a role in that in the sense of my personality can be super strong and aggressive that at times not everyone has the capacity to be super open and honest all the time. And so I had to see that. I had to see that. So it took some time, but I'm glad we're here, girl, because
Right?
what? You wasn't gonna live without me. No,
We grew for the better. But yeah,
we
I
did
swear those
for
were the
sure.
longest few weeks of my life. That's why I thought it
Yeah.
was like 3 months. I was adding dog years. Who knows? But
It
yeah, I'm
was
really glad that we did
10
get through that. But that was
Yeah,
like the craziest memory that I ever have, like for us. Because usually, if we ever had disagreements, it was like 5 minutes and we were
right,
fine. So
right.
yeah,
I
but
think that was
yeah,
honestly, I think that was a great example because it was you didn't want to give me space. You knew it was a requirement to give me space. I wanted space, but I was forced to look within my goddamn self. So it was like a double whammy of like,
yeah,
oh shit.
it was all the
um,
angles, and it ties
yes.
perfectly into the what's the word activity too.
Come on, let's talk about what is the word.
So a lot of stuff in this video, but I feel like we could go part two, part three, eight,
Oh yeah.
whatever with this. But for this week, our challenge back to you guys is I feel like we've all run into these situations where we need to give space to ourselves or to another person. So, what we're really looking for y'all to do is think of a time where you should have given space to yourself or that other person, but you didn't. And write down what that outcome would have been or what you think it would have been if you allowed that time for that space to happen. Because maybe it would have been a better scenario, or you rekindled faster, or you still would have been either in that relationship or had that friendship. It doesn't have to be just romantic, but like me and Jasmine's, like whatever you think would have happened if you allowed that space to happen. So that's your what's their word. We gotta throw that in there. Um, so let us know what you think because we're gonna be coming live. I mean, obviously we could just be on schedule and be live next Wednesday. That's the other change too. We're switching to Wednesday. If you didn't catch on last time, we did it on Wednesday. Our new times will be the third Wednesday of every month at 8 p.m. to go live. We may ask y'all to come in and speak about the topic, so be prepared. Watch this video if you're part of that replay crew. I always be tongue tied sometimes. Definitely let us know. Subscribe so you're not missing out on that. But yeah, I'm glad we talked about that because I feel like I didn't really know the ins and outs. We kind of just like we're like, okay, we're better now, and
Yes,
didn't really talk about how you were feeling during that time.
no doubt. Well, thank you for allowing the space to get real, keep it real with one another, with everyone watching. This is what it's all about. This is what our podcast is about. Of right, I had no idea what Shanice was about to say. That's why I'm like, oh my god.
I wanted a
But I'm
real
glad.
time example,
Right,
real
this is
time
real,
reaction.
real stuff. So I'm super excited. Your what's the word activity? I already immediately I thought of a couple of people that I'm like, oh yeah, we could have benefited from this little space here. So let's get to it. Shanice talking about the live. Maybe we'll have a surprise for you. It's giving surprise. Um, so stay tuned. Catch us on Insta. Catch us on a story. Um, as always, like, subscribe, share, comment. Rerun crew. We want to hear from you.
And we'll see you next week.
All
Bye,
right.
y'all.
Peace and here, Grease.